How's it going, everybody? Jeff Slakey here, and I am at the Mason County Auditor's office in the election headquarters as we get ready for Election Day 2024. It is so exciting to talk about this process that we're able to engage in every year for some votes, every 4 years for the presidential, and all the way down. I'm with Marie Stevenson, who is the elections administrator. I'm also here with the Mason County Auditor, Steve Duenkel. Thank you so much for talking with me.
Well, thank you, Jeff. It's really a thrill to have you here. Each and every time you come to visit, we always have a good time.
Well, I like talking about elections. I like talking about the process. And every year, it seems like more and more people are getting engaged in the process, becoming interested in how they can cast their ballots and getting registered. And this is where it's all going to happen on Election Day, which is Tuesday, November 5th. And the deadline for that, 8 o'clock, we're going to start to see results come out of this office. How has the process been? We talked during the primary, and you guys have been working on this Election Day for a long time.
We have started preparing for 2024 back in December of last year. Everybody has anxiety about how the presidential election is going to go. My mission and desire was to make sure that for us, November 2024 was going to be the most fun, most exciting, most exhilarating election we've ever done. So I want it to be stress-free, anxiety-free, and we're just going to have a great time. So we've been preparing for everything that we can think of across the waterfront, from physical security to personnel security to ballot processing security, and along with that, wanting to make everything as transparent and accessible as possible to the public. We've made more space in the ballot processing room to accommodate more observers, and I'm excited because more people are getting involved. And I think 2024 is going to be a great time.
So as the auditor, Steve oversees a couple different departments, including elections. So Marie, talk to me a little bit about what you do as the elections administrator here for the county.
So as the elections administrator, I oversee all of the processes from creating the ballot, which then before that consists of getting measures from our districts and all of the candidate filing and all of the parts that go into what could be on a ballot. So from creating it to getting it ready to proofing it, making sure it's perfect, getting it to the printer, getting all the records for our voters and keeping them up to date, getting all of the pieces that go into who's going to get a ballot and what's going to be on it.
Very good, yeah.
And then get those all distributed through our printer, which is KMAS up in Everett. So
Yep.
It's been a while since I've been there. And then KMAS get those all mailed out for us. Sometimes we mail out some from our office too, issue them to people in person. And then we get into when we start collecting them, when they start coming in, and then the process of getting that done. So they come in, we're accountable for all the ballots we receive. So we have, we want a good solid count of how many ballots we actually get into our possession. And then we have a sorter that we send them through, scans the images of the envelopes, captures that image so that then we can compare that signature that's on that envelope to the voter registration. So when people get registered to vote, we either get their signature on a piece, the application itself. We get the signature from Department of Licensing when people get their license. So those signatures that come in may not be perfect, especially when they're on the little notepad, little pads with the fingers. So
I know.
Sometimes that's a challenge.
I've gotten my note before saying we need to check your signature.
Yeah, so sometimes that's a real challenge, versus a signature on a paper versus a signature on one of those pads.
And it's this machine right behind us here, right?
Yeah,
is
that just sorts.
Okay.
That just basically, I get the data out of our vote law system that I basically feed it all of the valid ballot IDs for the election. And then it reads the barcode that's on there, which is the ballot ID. And then it checks it to that list. Say, okay, this one's on the list, this one's not. So that we can make sure everything's handled properly.
Talk to me a little bit about so we've got 63,000 residents here in Mason County-ish, and not all of them are over 18 eligible to vote. What are the numbers of ballots that you guys are going to be sending out this year?
44,208 active registered voters at last count. So that number is about 20 4 hours all night. We check it every day.
Just to make sure.
But we just broke the 45,000 mark.
And is that because you think more people are getting engaged? Are there different ways that people are able to register? Is the registration process easier than it was, years past? Or what do you attribute that to?
Well, if I go by Marie's experience, it's just the increased interest in a presidential election. As Marie will often say, people come out of the woodwork.
Right.
To get registered and to vote for the presidential election.
I'm just going to stop everybody right there and say every election is important, and regardless of what's on the ballot, everybody should, every time they get the chance, vote and make their voice heard. But
Absolutely.
I do know what you mean. It does swell
your
during
levies,
the presidential.
Your levies and your special elections, which is your February election, your April election, those affect your tax dollars, your property taxes. So it's important to vote on those, and the interest of the district that is on the ballot that's asking for the levies.
It's exciting to vote for president, but it's important to vote for the mechanics of how you work and live in the county.
Every election is important,
Yeah.
and it's our duty as citizens to vote in every election.
So the ballots are going to start coming out of the office on October 8th, and at that time, then people are going to be able to make their choice, get the ballots back in, and so they either can do one of the secure drop boxes around the county,
Right.
or back in the mail.
Or the mail, or bring them in person and put them in the drop box in the voting center.
Okay. When you go and check and collect either at the mailbox here at the post office or at the drop boxes, explain again the process, how many people are there, and the checks and balances that happen.
Chain of custody is really important whenever we're handling ballots. We want to make sure we have 2 qualified people in possession, or in possession is probably the best way to say it, of the ballots at any one time or all the time. And when they're not under their custody, then they have to be stored in a secured facility. So we have a team of 2 people that go out and make the rounds to collect the ballots from the drop box. I'll be one of those 2 people on election night after 8 p.m. after results are posted. And then when we go retrieve ballots from the post office, we send 2 people there as well to bring those ballots back. Make sure we can always have 2 people verify that this is what we got, this is how many we got, and this is what we did with them.
Let's talk then too about folks who may not be able to utilize a paper ballot for whatever reason, visual impairment or any sort of things like that. How do those ballots get cast and counted?
So for anybody that, we have a couple of options. We do have a couple of voters who are visually impaired. They've asked us to make them like a large print ballot. So we'll take an 8.5 by 14 and make it 11 by 17. So it's really large and helps them read. We also have what's called an accessible voting unit. It's a device. It's touchscreen. It has earphones. It can do a sip and puff. There's a couple of different ways that different people with different disabilities to allow them to vote in person, basically in private, and then so that their ballot can get deposited just like the rest of them.
I remember the last time I was here, Steve, that you showed us, you can't see it on the camera, but it's the room behind us, and it's a super secure room with like the Faraday cage and all sorts of things to help in electronic security. Is that right?
Well, that's correct. We
close?
have done whatever we can to try to protect the election system from electronic interference. It's not solid. We've got more work to do, and with that, Marie and I have desires and designs for a future facility where we can be more deliberate about that. But for right now, we're doing the best we can. There's a monitor on the wall that's recommended to us by the Secretary of State's office that's tracking wireless signals in that room.
Okay.
And you can see from the way that it's enunciating at us that it's picking up signals, and so there's still wireless communications getting into that room. The servers themselves are in a Faraday cage, so they're better protected, but we want to, over time, work to make it more and more resistant to wireless communication.
Isn't that something? I do see it flashing over there. I wonder if that's our wireless microphones that we have set up right now.
It could be anything. It picks up cell phones in the
building, so it's a little.
It kind of tells you something's happening.
Something's happening.
You need to look into
it can pick up my Bluetooth hearing aids.
Oh wow!
It can pick up wireless signals from out in the parking lot. So really at a high level just says we're not tight yet, but we want to get there.
Yeah.
And the other aspect of that is that room has one door. It has windows. It has a keypad that is badge access only by 3 individuals. And there's also a numbered seal that seal gets broken. We know that somebody has attempted or something has, and then there's that seal number is logged and opened and removed and placed on by 2 people who initialed that that's the seal number that went on for just tracking access into that room. It is also on 24-hour recording surveillance to ensure that it is safe.
And that's where you'll send the results to the Secretary of State's office?
Well, I get the results from there.
Oh, okay.
So that's the tabulation system.
Okay.
So the tabulation system consists of, for each ballot that we receive that is accepted, it gets scanned. The images are then captured and stored, and the way that the system, that's the marks on the side of the ballot, and at the top are timing marks to say what bubble belongs to what candidate in the design of it. So when it's scanned, it captures those images. They're stored on the server, which is in the Faraday cage, and then then I have a computer that only 2 people have access to actually log in and collect and enable the system to generate and read those bubbles to collect those results. And then at that point, I print out the results. I put all the results in the files on a thumb drive, a secure thumb drive that has like a seal that nobody's tampered with it, that comes from the Secretary of State. All of that is tracked. Then I pull those results onto that thumb drive, go to my PC out here that's on the internet, and then I upload those into our voter registration database for the Secretary of State, which then collects it and collaborates it. And when you go to their website, you can get the individual county results and then the state results.
So people often ask me, Steve, how do we know people aren't messing with the machines wirelessly, right? So we take advantage of every audit that's available per Washington state law to verify and validate that the paper ballot matches the scanned image, matches the tabulated result. And that includes our random batch audit. After every election, we have a hand count of 6 randomly selected batches of ballots. We also have the risk limiting audit, which is a measure of the statistical validity of the election, both at the county level and the state level. Marie also does a hash test to take an image of the software to make sure there's no changes before and after the election. And to me, and so far we've seen no evidence of any trouble, which is great. The other thing that I was really encouraged by is when we did the statewide hand recount of the Commissioner of Public Lands race, we had no variances, not one, in the complete hand count of that race.
20,176
20,176 ballots, and it came out to a T. So I think we can all take great confidence, at least as far as Mason County is concerned, that's not really a big issue for us.
We just went through probably 7 layers of security and how it's being addressed here. But there's always folks that want to come in and see the process. Sometimes there'll be a person from one party and the other party, and they're in here kind of overseeing things too. Talk to me about how that works.
Well, we make it available to anybody who really wants to come and observe. Marie has formal observer training. The next session is going to be October 10th.
10th at 5:30.
5:30. So if you want to be an observer, come on down. We'll put you through the formal training. But if you can't make the training, that doesn't mean you can't. We'll just have to take time to review the observer rules with you. But we welcome everybody. The elections belong to the people. And I encourage people to come down and be a part of it. I expect people to come down and be a part of it.
And there's cameras in that room, you said, but there's cameras all around here that people can access through the auditor's website, right?
Yes, yeah. So starting the day that the ballots are mailed out, October 8th, all these cameras are, they're always recording, but we put them on live stream to our website. So you'll be able, people can actually see from a distance, of course, because the ballots are sacred.
Oh, yeah.
Not the information on them is not public. So they'll be able to see that room, the storage room, and then the angle from this corner, and then the angle over here to the signature verifier spaces. And that's live stream on our website from the time that we mail ballots out until the day of certification, which is November 25th.
Okay.
And we also have cameras now on every ballot drop box.
Oh, yeah.
24/7 surveillance video is available, and election observers, instead of going out to the site and physically watching what's happening at the drop box, can now do that from the comfort of their home.
Yeah.
And they do, and we get phone calls about, hey, what's going on at that drop box, and hey, what's going on at
Well,
this
wasn't there
drop box.
something up at the Belfair Library?
That was before it was on camera.
Oh, no.
When they tried to steal
They
our
tried to
drop
take
box.
it.
That
Somebody
wasn't
tried
you,
to
was it?
No, Steve, come on, it's too far of a drive for me. No, I mean, I read that and I couldn't believe it. These things are super secure. They've got to be heavy.
It was probably about 1,000 pounds. The box itself is over 600, and then you add a 4-inch deep, thick cement slab
Yeah.
onto the bottom of it.
Oh, my God.
We made news across the state with that adventure.
I
and
bet.
For whatever probably because it was so heavy, they decided it wasn't worth the effort.
They tried to
and
dig it out, put
decided
yellow
just
straps
to-
on it. You could see where the yellow strap marks were.
But that drop box has been relocated from the library in Belfair up to the new the new sheriff's station, where
Yeah.
we've got I'm going to shameless plug, our new temporary voting center, which will now be open for our third election, and the people in the north end of the county seem to be very appreciative of it.
Yeah,
so it's
and
limited hours.
and that is October 28th, starting at 9 a.m. Monday through that Friday, or actually through that Saturday. We're going to do our extended hours. We're going to have Monday through Saturday.
Come
from
Saturday.
9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Then Monday, day before Election Day, is going to be also 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. And then Election Day is 9 a.m. to 8 p.m.
Right.
So to service the voters in the north end of the county, to help them up there without needing to come here. But we highly recommend to come as early as possible, or Saturday, because Election Day there can be a line.
Sure.
So,
Avoid the rush, avoid the line. Come see us on Saturday.
or earlier.
The ballot, is it a flip side? Are people going to need to, do they go one side and
It's
the
a
other?
flip
It is.
side.
Okay,
There is
so
two sides.
There is
Yep.
plenty of things to vote on, not only the presidential, the gubernatorial, we got a ton of...
Senator,
Judges.
the senator, the
the
judges.
congressional race,
Congressional, there's a couple
judicial
county.
races,
There's
county
commissioners. There's
Commissioners.
one for PUD1, PUD2,
legislative
PUD3.
district 35. So
Yeah.
don't miss it.
Yeah,
And there's 4
definitely-
state measures on there.
So let's get to kind of the pamphlet. You got it in front of you here.
Yeah, let's talk about this. So a lot of angst over the voters pamphlet.
Yeah, what's going on?
Now, so in 2021, the legislature passed and the governor signed into law a requirement for the counties to publish a primary voters pamphlet.
Local.
Yeah.
Which Mason County did, right? And because there was sensitivity around the costs, which were passed directly onto the jurisdictions, want to try to keep this as affordable as possible. So people get this, and not knowing that there's information either on the Secretary of State's website, or in the case of the general election, a second voters pamphlet that comes out. They see this and they go, is that it? Is that all we get?
Right.
So they're a little grumpy, and I don't blame them, because I felt the same way the first time I saw it. But starting in 2026, we will now include not only the county information, but we're going to publish our pamphlet with all the statewide information in it, and any federal, there won't be federal information in 26. Well, there will be. Statewide and federal information will come to you in a county voters pamphlet, and people say, well, what about the additional costs? We will be working with the Secretary of State to get reimbursed for that, so that portion of it will not get passed on to the
Let me see
district.
this thing. Let me see what. So, I mean, it's got the information. It's got the links to the website. Has your voting instructions,
Yep.
dates. Okay, and it does have our local commissioners, and people again will also get supplemented through the
Supplemented
state
with this, right? It's from the Secretary of State's office, because we try to be so proactive and in some ways
expenditure
overachievers.
conscious.
Yeah.
I mean, we have a lot of small districts, and when they're part of the, the ballot, it's a cost that gets put onto them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
So we're sensitive to that.
And as the auditor too, you do kind of some of that fiscal responsibility.
That's right. We got
It's
to
another
take
part of your job.
good responsibility of taxpayer dollars.
So the election again is the ballots are going to be coming out starting the 8th. What happens if by the 12th somebody doesn't have their ballot?
So They can give us a call. They can go to votewa.gov, so votewa.gov. They can log in there with their last name, first name, last name, and their birth date. And there's a space there where they can access and print a ballot from that system. They can stop in our office. They, of course, during that vote center time in Belfair, go there to get a replacement ballot, get registered to vote if they're not. So anybody who hasn't got their ballot, say by the 12th or so, sometimes it's a little bit longer, but usually by the 12th everybody's got their ballots. So just to give us a call, we can mail them another one, or they can.
And I have been known on occasion to hand deliver in-person ballots to someone who needs to replace a lost ballot or one that something bad happened to it. I'm happy to do it. Whatever it takes, we want people to vote.
Yeah, and we're collaborating with Mason Transit. They're going to give us some availability as we get closer to Election Day to help accommodate people that may not be able to drive or don't have transportation, to help them get to one of the vote centers so that they can get a ballot. So that's another attribute.
Oh,
that's a first.
Cool.
So they've been amazing. Yeah, they're going to really be helpful to help with people that don't have transportation.
Stay tuned for details on our website, right? For if you're interested in taking advantage of the Mason Transit Authority bus service.
And then I got one more question, and I don't know if this is true or not, but it's what I heard. If you vote early, you get your ballots in, then they take you, like the messages that come in your mailbox stop. Is that true?
It is true for the most part, because a lot of times what these the other candidates do throughout the election is so they can ask for, I want what's called a matchback list. So, and that's the list of the people that it's who's voted and who hasn't.
Yeah.
So they're going to be calling and trying to talk to the people who haven't voted to try to get their vote, of course. So
it's important to make sure you do your research and do your homework. Don't just fill out the ballot so you can stop getting those texts and phone calls. But at the same time, if you know kind of the direction you want to go, get that done, and then you can move on to the next thing here.
Check your ballot status in VoteWA. If you have any questions or concerns, give us a call. We will spring into action and do whatever we can to take care of whatever issue you have.
This place is going to be an exciting time on November 5th, 2024, Election Day, from the presidential all the way down. It is going to be a great opportunity for you to make your voice heard. And if you have any questions, I'll put the links to the Mason County Elections website here so folks can get in touch with you more. Thank you so much for talking with me. I love these conversations. They usually go a little long, but it's all great information and important information to get out.
We love it, Jeff. And you're welcome to come back again on election night because, as I said at the start, it's going to be the most fun we've ever had in our lives on November 5th, election night. So we can't wait.
I want to add another note because we talked so much about the North Basin, the Belfair Vote Center, which is temporary. It's really going to be beneficial for everybody in North End County. In the Shelton location here, we are also going to be, of course, that Monday through Friday, and we are going to have Saturday hours as well here from 9 to 4.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the same as regular hours.
Almost 45,000 of your fellow residents here in the county will hopefully all be returning a ballot here and getting those numbers up. That would be amazing to get.
Your vote counts. Your vote matters. If you have whatever concerns, whatever issues where you think my vote doesn't matter, your vote counts, and I'm counting on you to cast it.
Yeah.
And if there is a situation where we can't match your signature, or you forgot to sign the envelope, we get a letter out right away. We call, we email, we do whatever we can to inform you that there was an issue, and you have to respond to that. You have to give us what we call that cure.
Yeah.
Before November 25th, 24th by 4 p.m.
Okay.
Or we cannot count those ballots.
Certification deadline.
We cannot count those ballots if we don't have that response by that 24th by 4 p.m.
And remember, you got to be a U.S. citizen.
Yep.
You got to be 18 or over, and you have to be a non-incarcerated individual felon.
Okay. And we'll put those notes in there as well. And you mentioned every vote counts. I know some of these races here in the county have been decided with less than a handful of votes, literally 5. So you're right, every vote does
Every
matter.
vote counts, and it's your duty.